our special guest host this evening. We do have Robert Chavez and Humberto Perez, both from the Austin area of Texas. They are going to be your official guides. If you want to say hello, fellas. Robert, you say hello?
Hello, fellas. Hello, everybody.
And Humberto.
Hello, everybody.
We're glad to have you guys with us today. All right, Vanessa, we're going to go live and pass it over to them. Are you ready?
I'm ready. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action.
And we're going to move it over to Robert.
That's right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Robert Chavez, and as soon as I get used to this feedback on my head, I'm going to take off my headphones because somehow I'm listening to myself talk to you and I can't concentrate. But as long as you guys can hear me, we'll be all right. Okay, my presentation is digital storytelling ideas for a teacher, and it's going to be short and sweet, but I'm going to give you really great information on how to just get started with the tools that you have. So here we go. I did this whole presentation in Google Docs, and Google Docs, as you know, is a great way for you to share your documents, sync up your calendars, make a digital website, and with Google Sites, you're able to host your videos that you share with the world. So awesome. And if for some reason you guys can't hear me anymore, just let me know. But it sounds like we're doing good, right? Yeah. Give me a thumbs up. Now the sound is better. You guys can still hear me. Cool. Awesome. All right. Thank you. So here we go. Digital storytelling ideas for teachers. Okay. Since I use Mac, that's what I have to work with. But these days you have tablets, you have smartphones, and you have laptops. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a filmmaking studio really in the palm of your hands. So I'm just going to read a little bit here. iPads with the camera, that's your cinematography. Since we're discussing filmmaking and the filmmaking process for teachers inside and outside the classrooms. Teachers can create video lessons outside, like little podcast webinars, and they can actually design lessons inside the classroom using the technology that we have. So just remember these 3 bullet points. iPads with the camera is your cinematography. Webcams on the laptops, that is your camera with an instant studio in there. The tablets, the smartphones, as you know, iPhones, they have cameras now. So, and these cameras within these webcams and these phones, they're really, really spectacular. I mean, the video is great. Just remember, when you use mobile devices to record your story and use the applications and software to edit and polish your project. What I mean by that is the technology these days, they do all the coding for you. They do all the compressing for you, if you will. And that basically means, as you know, how do I get it to YouTube? How do I get it to TeacherTube? How do I get it to Facebook? How do I get it to Twitter? Well, all these devices, what's cool is that they already have links for you. They already, once you export the project, once you are done with the project, with the video, they literally say just publish, press this button and publish to Facebook, press this button and publish to Twitter. So it does the whole technical experience for you. It takes the technical experience, it does it for you, and you're able to work with your students and be so creative. iPhones, iPads, and laptops, a filmmaking studio. This is kind of the repeat, but I'm going to show you a little bit of apps that kind of help you with that. For those of you that have tablets, such as an iPad, for those of you that have an iPhone or an Evo, there's 2 formats. There's Mac format, the Apple, and then there's the PC format. But there's so many apps now, and this is really what I want to focus on is the applications with your hardware, as we call it, with your gear in the filmmaking language, your equipment. But storytelling apps, because that's where everything's going to be. Camera phones already come with apps. For those of you on Facebook already, you've already been posting. You're already bloggers. If you're on Facebook every day and you're posting pictures and you're posting videos where you're already that ahead of the curve, kick it up a notch and do some editing And then people are going to be like, wait a second here, that wasn't your normal photo, that wasn't your normal little video. This guy added some text, this lady added some sound, and those are what photo camera apps can do for you. It records video, it records sound. Already you have the technology in the palm of your hands, quite literally. With just a little creativity, you can really engage your students. And the students will engage themselves because they're going to learn. They're going to learn this filmmaking process. And I love the filmmaking process inside a classroom because if you know about project-based learning, you know that 21st century skills are vital. So what better way to introduce 21st century skills than to make a film, than to make a digital story, a digital story. And let's make it basic. Just recording a student's voice over some pictures. That right there is filmmaking. It's narration. It's a digital photo slideshow that they can narrate. So some of us think of like a film with editing and text and music. That's the high end, but there's all this spectrum of digital filmmaking within your classroom that you can incorporate from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. Are there mobile apps that I can use to write my story or script? Absolutely. This right here is a script writing application. So there's ones that you can buy, there's ones that are free. It literally formats your script for you. So if you want to write that script in the proper Hollywood the Hollywood format, then these apps already do it for you. You just basically type in and tab and it keeps the format for you. So you have a professional looking script for your students that you can print out or export, what have you. This one is one of my favorites here. This one right here is called Index Card. And these are iPad apps, but I'm sure there's the equivalent on PC. But this little note cards, remember everybody does this. They have little note cards. I used to keep these in my pocket and write ideas, jot down lessons, even reminders. Now it's become in the digital realm. And somebody developed the index card. Quite simple. So just like you get here, you're able to just move these cards around, place them in order, rearrange them, add whatever titles you want, and share them with your friends. If somebody else has an index card app, you can literally transfer that for you. But the whole point here is there are apps, there are options that won't break the bank that you can write your script or your story and keep it organized. Moving right along, as I said, I love this app because it helps me structure my concept and rearrange as needed. It's great for all lessons, guys, here. Think about this, a writing assignment. Have your students structure that. What happens first? What happens next? Or wait, is this the ending right here? Well, then you might want to move the ending to the beginning. What does that say about the story? Think about how creative you can get a simple app that and students love because you're able to manipulate digital tactile, if that's the right way to say it, feel to it. So you're able to just move it around, and you're literally moving your ideas around, which is great. Next, this is one of my favorites as well. You know, the TV reporters, when they look in the mirror, when they look into the camera, they're actually looking into a prompter. So news at 9. And I used to think that these reporters memorize the whole script, but they don't because they are reading exactly this. The producers write it, and for those broadcasting classes or journalism classes, this is a great app that you can get. It's called the prompter apps. There's free ones and there's expensive ones, but expensive meaning like what, $5? And I love it because it allows you to type your script or your dialogue and literally play it back, and you can control the speed as it moves up and down. It works with your smartphone. It works with your iPad. You can have it on your laptop. Now you're able to not have to memorize this stuff. When, say, they're giving you an interview or you're having to recite 7 years ago, well, you can just write it in there and automatically control the speed as you read it. I love it because you're able to control the speed. It's cool. And here's a little bonus tip. You're able to put it on your iPhone or smartphone and use while it's on your computer or your iPad, and you can use your smartphone as a remote to guide the speed. Yes, you can use your smartphone to guide the speed. It's crazy. It's crazy how much they're all intertwined together. I love it. That's a prompter app. So obviously filmmaking needs music, needs sound, voiceovers, narration. There are free apps like Audacity, the ones on your PCs or laptop. Well, this is one on your iPad or your iPhone or your smartphones. Voice recorder apps. Basically, that's a general term. Love it because it's so easy to pause and start recording as you read the narration or your story. You can export the sound file and email it literally. You can have a friend in California record his narration and then send it to you on email, download it, and put it into your project. How cool is that? You can have somebody, you can have a soldier send a message to his daughter from way across the world with apps like this. Imagine what you can do in your classroom with this technology. What's next here? Green screen apps. Now we're getting into a little bit of some Hollywood magic here. There's green screen studio apps. And as you know the weather guys, how they have the weather wall behind them. Well, that's a green screen. You can do the same thing with photos, and video. So you stand next to a green wall. Just go out to Walmart or your local store and buy some green paper and just put it behind you, and then stand in front of it, take a picture or record some video, and later within that app, you don't even have to do anything. That app shows you how to do it and does it for you. So you can place yourself in front of the Eiffel Tower or in front of what have you, the UT Tower, hook 'em. Green Screen Studio, there's so many versions of this. Now special effects are in the palm of your hand. Literally, Hollywood is freaking out because we're able to do this so quickly. Great for puppet shows. Think about it. If there's some shy students, put a sock puppet in front of them and have them animate that or have them talk through that. It's great for ESL because students that are learning the English language, they can use puppets to kind of help them with that confidence. So I've actually done that and it worked really, the students really loved it. Once you get into video editing, all this stuff can happen without editing. You can literally export it and whatever you recorded, you have it. But say you want to kick it up a notch. Say you have another project. I'm doing a 5th grade slideshow coming up where I'm supposed to put some pictures together and some video of the 5th grade before they graduate into middle school. Well, I want to kick it up a notch, so I'm going to use the iMovie application. And PC has their own application, Movie Maker, as well. This is great because you're able to manipulate your video on the right points. You're able to make those dissolves and transitions, fade to black. And I always keep it simple because when you keep it simple, you progress and your confidence skyrockets and you're able to actually produce stuff. This app, literally, you can edit on your iPhone now, on your smartphone. You can edit on your iPad, edit on your laptop, obviously. And this is great for those advanced, I say advanced projects, but I really mean is the ones that are serious about manipulating their media. And that's what it's all about. Students love to edit. Students love to edit. And remember, your tablets, your smartphones, they're also external hard drives. Keep that in mind. Like this right here is a short film that I was working on, and I imported all the clips, and I was able to go and meet the actor for a coffee or something and say, hey, this is how you did, man. This is my favorite one right here, or this one right here. We could be a little bit more natural. But think about your students. Your students are going to be able to instantly see themselves instantly see themselves with their interview right from the iPad. Remember that your tablet and your smartphone can hold media. That's really important because some of us have all these gigs in our smartphones and tablets and we don't realize that they can actually store our files in them. And the tablet can be taken anywhere as a mobile studio for real-time blogging. I mean, we do that already in our phone. That's our real-time blogging. When we go to Twitter, when we go to Facebook and update our statuses, that's real-time blogging. But when you take it into the classroom and you take it into the filmmaking world, you're like an instant filmmaker that's showing their stuff. And here's a quick visual tour. This is slightly different from filmmaking, but this elementary teacher found these and tested these apps with her students, and they love them. So I'm just going to go through them really quick because their engagement skyrocketed in the elementary world here. And you can tell this is an iPad. These are free apps and like great for pre-K right here. As you know, they're touch screen and they're able to just, this is a math one, great. So if you think about it, this is media, this is animation, and they're able to have the best of both worlds because it's animation, it's colorful, they're able to manipulate it, and it's a game. Gaming has become the new thing in the 21st century, project-based stuff. It's like students are making games, designing games. It's almost like filmmaking. It's all incorporated. Love this stuff. I mean, I have a 3-year-old who's loving this, you know. So that's my time, but this is my presentation. I just want to leave you with these 10 points. Remember these points when starting a video project, guys. Write the idea down in bullet points. That's the first thing you have to do. Transfer your idea to storyboards or that visual stick figures. Those are really your storyboards. Remember, once you get ready to shoot, plan your shot selection. That means, okay, the camera's going to be over here. I'm going to need a tight close-up of her eyes. Like, put all that in a list. Keep the camera steady unless you're going for that whole action Hunger Games feel, you know. And use light. I can't stress this enough. This separates the amateur from the professional. Just a little light source. Use a lamp. Use whatever you have to put light in their eyes and just light their face. And even in your pictures, use light and get creative with the process. And remember, once all this hard work, because this takes time, share your video project online or private links like Google. Sites like Vimeo you can post it up in there. It's not like YouTube where the whole world sees it. Although maybe YouTube you can still have private links, but I find Vimeo is easy to control. You send people passwords and only they have the opportunity to see it. You get to pick. And keep it simple, Grasshopper. For the language of filmmaking, like any other language, takes time to master. And sometimes you just need to watch ideas to get inspired. I do that with my projects as well. I go to the Pinterest is a great way now to just, as you know, Pinterest is a great place for anything, videos, recipes, and education. Now you type in education on Pinterest, it's gonna change your life. Play around with light, and most importantly, guys, have a message in your projects. There's so much going on in the world. You know, if you show your students what multimedia can do and the power of cinema and the power of storytelling, it's important for them to know what are they saying with this. And that's it for me. My name is Robert Chavez, and thank you so much for joining me in this part of the presentation. And now back to you. Yes.
Robert?
My pleasure.
Thanks so much. All right, folks. If you have any questions for Robert, go ahead and put those over in the chat, and he'll be responding in the chat room as we move on. But Vanessa, let's give him a cyber high five. What do you say?
Cyber high five.
There it is. Well done. And I think let's give a cyber high five to our tech team to figure out the audio track. Ready?
Delayed reaction there.
There we go. All right. And for those of you who are having some of your ideas are swimming, as Gail says, again, we are recording this webinar so you can come walk through it again very soon. All right. As Humberto gets things set up and goes ahead and shows his desktop away from our webinar space, we'll get him all ready to go. He's going to be walking you through some other really great pieces with digital storytelling. And when you're ready, Humberto, you just holler and we'll hand it over.
I'm ready. Can y'all hear me?
Yep,
Sound good?
You kind of push your mic a little bit away from your mouth and see if it doesn't garble just so much.
How about there? Is that a little better?
Much better. All right, my friend, it's all yours.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to Digital Storytelling Webinar Part 2. And Rain Chavez and I are going to sit here and discuss some things. We got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. And of course, like Robert, he's an indie filmmaker, and he's a photographer as well. an educator, and I likewise am a filmmaker, but I also teach technology applications at John B. Conley High School, which allows me to play with a lot of these technologies a lot more. So one of the things I saw, somebody was saying that anybody can be a movie producer, and my idea is that teachers can be executive producers of digital stories, especially if you want students to be engaged, you want them to collaborate, communicate, problem solve, and think critically. And so yes, you can be a movie producer in your classroom, right, Ray? I think as educators, we already do a lot of things that movie producers do.
Absolutely, it's a process like any lesson, and filmmaking is one of those that can push the envelope.
All right. And so you don't need to know a whole lot about the technical side of making a video. You just have to have a vision and be the guiding force for the students. Let your students take over. They know how to use this stuff. From an early age, they already know how to play around with the iPads and all kinds of mobile devices and things like that. So really, you just have to be the guiding force. So we're going to give you some tools. But what a producer does in a real video production process is you're one part air traffic controller, and you do that already as an educator. You're controlling the traffic in your class. Also, one part cheerleader. So, of course, you're trying to cheer your students on. And next part is deal with the story and art department. Work with the technical challenges, which is, the kids are going to have problems, so you help them sort those out, set priorities for them, and of course you manage the financial aspect of the film, and we all know that in school that's basically a zero budget, so we have to be really resourceful, which we are, and filmmakers do too. So as Ray was talking about, it's too loud.
So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and mute your mic, Umberto. And then, Rain, I'm going to move your mic back on, and I'm going to have you hand your headset over to Rain, or over to Umberto. I think that's going to work a little bit better, so we don't have the birds chirping here, if that's okay. And let's see if that works for you.
Okay. I think it will. Here we go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Better?
Oh, fabulous. Go, go, go.
Okay. So I know Rain talked about PDs and mobile apps, and you can do video photo editing. I know he covered some of that. You can do that in iMovie. You got all kinds of built-in cameras, even into regular phones. You can use that even in regular phones. You got music creation apps, and there are tons of digital storytelling apps out there, and these are screenshots from my phone and some of the apps that I have. Some of my favorites, of course, like Camera Plus is really great. I love that one.
Hey, Umberto, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but can you go ahead and share your screen one more time? I think it popped out when I cut off your microphone.
Okay.
I'm sorry to bug you one more time.
No, it's okay. I'm not seeing a shared thing here.
Oh goodness, okay. That's where he throws it off. Okay, I have to move you back up. We're going to move you back up. Just don't turn on the audio track for the other computer. I
won't.
Okay. Just move you back up here. I'm sorry, folks. We just want to make it to where you all can hear this beautifully. And all right, let's see. Do you have that option now?
Yes.
Ah, there we go. There we go. Now we're good.
All right, so I'm going to take it back from PDs and mobile apps. So I was talking about iMovie. I use iMovie on my iPad. This is an example of it. This is part of the Cinema du Cannes film festival that we went to, and I've used the iPad to edit that. There's all kinds of built-in cameras into all kinds of devices, not just phones anymore. I see a lot of built-in cameras to a lot of different things. So there's a lot out there to be used. And this is a screenshot of my some of my favorite apps that I have. The ones on the left are from photo creation. I'm a really big fan of Camera Plus. It gives you a lot of different cool options. It's worth the 99 cents to purchase that. And then there's something called Vidi, which you can share your video with, which is in the middle one there. And of course, we got GarageBand over here on the right, which I use for a lot of music stuff. But a lot of great apps in there. Pre-production. So the video production process, you have three phases. First one is pre-production, second one is production, and third one is post-production. I'm basically going to run you through all of them really quickly here. And the pre-production phase, these are all the things that happen. There's a lot of stuff here that has to go on in filmmaking. And basically, I'm going to run you down with some of the basic things that you can do. A great website to do all your pre-production work is Edmodo. I use that, but I also use other websites as well. I use a mediaexperiments.com, which is a good site. It's especially if you're here in Central Texas, you can talk to Carl Settles and ask him about letting you on there, and that's kind of what I use to plan. Want to talk about copyright real quick. We live in a remix society, and a lot of stuff we get off the internet and things like that, so I like talking to students about that. And there can be copyright issues, but there is a solution. If you don't know about Creative Commons, you should go to creativecommons.com and check it out. They have an answer for copyright in this day and age, because the regular copyright is so complicated. But these are also some good resources to teach your students about copywriting. This one's called Taking the Mystery Out of Copyright, and then the other one is called Copyright Kids, and it's copyrightkids.com. And so if you have your phones out, you can probably practice some of this. We're going to talk about the cinematographer. The cinematographer is really also called the director of photography, and they're the ones in charge of the look of your video, the look of the video on the film or in the movie or in your digital stories. And they have a huge impact on a film because it's all in how they get these shots. And these are some of the shots from some of our Cinema Ducans films that we've sent off. You must also know your equipment, and if you're using a camera phone, it's pretty easy to use. So I'm going to give you some simple things that you can do. But when you're making a video, you want to definitely have a variety of camera shots, because it helps to create a mood, it helps to set the atmosphere, and it helps to tell the story. And so some of you may know this already, but there is the rule of thirds, and most cameras now have grids so that you can use the rule of thirds. Now, where the lines are crossing, that is where you want to place important images. And right here I was taking a picture of a sunset out of a window, and as you notice on the top right corner, that's where I placed the sun. And so you want to place, you'll see this being used a lot, and I'll demonstrate some more shots in just a minute. But if you have an iPhone or an iPod Touch, you can just go to options there, and it'll give you a chance to put the grid on. And it's good to use when you're inexperienced. So this is a shot of one of our, from another one of our Cannes films. And as you can tell where the green dots are at, that's kind of where you want to have your images. Now this is a close-up shot of the actor there, and if you notice, we put him up on the left-hand side. You never really want to put images right in the center in between all the four red dots. You want to, the first place your eyes look at when they look at a screen are where those dots are. So you have to imagine those dots on the screen, or in the case of some of your cameras that have the grids, you utilize them. You also notice that the name is right there on the other grid right there. So a couple things, want to get some long shots to tell your stories. This allows your viewer to understand the relationship between the character and the place that they're at. And I tried to apply I did apply the rule of thirds in most of these. This is a medium shot. This gives you a closer look of, the actors can now, you can see what their body language is, and you can see more of their facial expressions. and usually a medium shot's from their waist up, and then a close-up shot's really a shot of their head, and it allows for the character to show more emotion, and it can also be used to heighten tension in a scene. And this is the extreme close-up shot, and these are used very sporadically to really heighten tension or to make the viewer aware of some specific detail in the video. Then we have the over-the-shoulder shot, and this one's used a lot to establish conversations between people. And really, you just set the camera. There's no real rule about where you have to set the camera necessarily over the shoulder. In this case, he's turning to the side, and I just have it kind of placed to the side of his head, but enough so you can see the other character in there, and you can see that they're having a conversation. There's also something called depth of field. And depth of field is basically the amount of things that appear to be sharp or clear in front or behind your point of focus. And in this case, if you look at this picture, everything that is at the far end of the table away from us is very blurred, and the wine glass that is closest to us is very blurred, but it's the middle part that is in focus. And if you're using a DSLR camera, you're able to do this very effectively. Here's a great example. If you want to have a larger aperture opening of f2.8, and this will give you less depth of field, which makes everything blurry in the background. But if you want more things in focus, you want to have an aperture of f22, which is basically a smaller opening. The next thing is a screenplay writer. And the writer contributes a lot of things. They generate ideas, developing the stories. They work with the producer, which would in this case be you, to develop the story of the screenplay. They work with the director as well, and they write the story in screenplay format. And digital storytelling is really about telling a story and engaging your audience with an auditory and visual experience. And we're going to get more into more visuals and more auditory in just a little while. But you got to make your story exciting. So you got to add some conflict in there, and you got to create obstacles for your characters, and you got to make those obstacles come alive. Sometimes you can have an obstacle like a full marathon, but it might be more dramatic if other conflicts get in the way of the character, like finishing a marathon or things like that. And then to write a good screenplay, you need to decide the story you want to tell. You got to develop interesting characters for that story, create obstacles, interesting solutions, and then you should really outline your screenplay and expand it. And here's one of the classic ways. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and he has what you call the hero's journey. So you have a hero. The hero faces a scary, difficult adventure or problem. He's trying to accomplish something. They overcome their fear and go on an adventure. Then they face more serious obstacles. They have to try to solve their problems. They have to overcome their obstacles. And then finally the hero reaches his or her goal and learns a lot along the way. So that's a pretty classic way to tell a story. You'll see that in a lot of movies. The elements that make up a screenplay are basically have a slug line, an action, characters and description, and dialogue. And there are some great apps out there that will actually do it for you. This is Celtix.com, and it is free for both Mac and PC. You can download the software, and it does it for you. It does all the formatting for you. It is really cool and neat to use, and they have some tutorial videos that you can access from there as well that teach you how to use it. It's also available on the iPhone and the iPad as well. And since you have some type of story written out, then you want to storyboard it. And so you develop the storyboard, and you're going to be using it throughout the whole production process. And it's basically producing sketches of what you see in your head. And, you know, it's getting kids to kind of make a mental image. And I always use the whole thing about books, like when I ask students, when you read a book, can you imagine something, and can you imagine the scenes playing out in your head? And they usually say yes. So it's good to exercise the imagination in that way. And so you want to do a storyboard because it helps you think about how your film is going to look. It also helps you work faster on the set, whether you have a set like this or even a simple thing, just knowing what you're going to do. Of course, pictures can communicate better than words, so it helps to communicate that to other people. And then you as a producer, when you get a storyboard from a student, you'll be able to see, okay, well, there's going to be a problem here. How are you going to deal with this? And so do you need to be an artist? No, you don't. Hitchcock and Spielberg aren't, but stick figures will do. I'm not a very good sketcher myself, but this is actually a student produced storyboard right here. And they're very helpful when you get on production. And they come in really handy, and even in post-production, they come in really handy because once you get all the shots that you have, it's so much easier to put your video together, and it really helps you out. I'm a big, huge fan of storyboarding, and I make my students do it. And they fight me on it at first, but after they make their video, they're pretty happy that they did because they didn't waste a lot of time. So it's really good to sketch these out and get an idea of what you're going to film. Now, if you want to assign a director to one of your students, you can. These are the 3 positions that really are crucial to the success of your production process: the producer, the director, and the writer. But as a director, you really want to think about how the story should be told and how the film and video should look like. And that's why you work with the cinematographer. And sometimes that can just be you, right? You're the director, cinematographer, and producer. And so you want to make that mental movie. You want to see the film in that imagination exercise. You want to have a mental vision of what that movie looks like and play that in your head. And that's why it's good to storyboard that, because you can put that on a storyboard. And these are some things that make a good director. You definitely have to be creative. You got to make sure you explain your vision. You got to know how to tell your story visually. And that all takes practice. All of this, like I tell anybody, really takes practice. Being organized is great, especially when you're going to go out to shoot. And director works from pre-production all the way through post-production. And so in a real movie set, this is what a director does. But main thing is help shape the script, again, tell that story, and work with the people that you have to work with. And in the case of our students, get them to work with each other so that they can get their video done. But it helps to have somebody to kind of direct and have a vision for the story. Location scouting. So next thing you want to do too is go out and find locations where you want to shoot. And these are just some tips. I'm just going to go over a few of them that I feel are really important to think about before you go out and shoot video footage. You don't want to go out and just get video footage and then you bring it back to computer and it doesn't look good. Some of that could have been taken care of with location scouting. So one, you got to know your script, or you got to know what your ideas are or what your storyboard is, so you know what kind of demands you have on as far as locations. And then you want to make sure you go out and scout the right time. We were going to film in this area right here at our school, and I kept telling students, remember, that's a very heavily trafficked area because a lot of kids will go there even between classes. And so you got to make sure you know where you're going to film and have an idea of what's happening there. Got to definitely look at light and see what kind of lighting you have, so that you can, you always need to add light. And I find schools to be very dark, especially like really inside the building. So it's always good to check out the lighting and see how that's going to affect how you shoot. Also, if you're going to be filming outside, you got to know where the sun is. You don't want to overexpose your camera and have it make the person look like a ghost, like the little boy here on the right. And you also want to listen around when you're there and see what kind of sounds are occurring, because all that will be captured on the microphone, either on your camera or on a mic, and you want to kind of be prepared and think about things that could prevent a good audio recording as well. And then finally, just take some notes. Just be aware of places you go. I always have my iPhone camera with me, and I'm always taking pictures of places that I go and visit and looking to see how, maybe one day go back and shoot. And even around the school, I tell kids, especially at our school, there's so many great places to actually shoot at our school. Go out and take pictures of them and everything. And then take notes. Have your students take notes about where they're going to shoot. And I've found my smartphone to be the perfect tool for having a location scouting kit, because you need a camera, which you have. You need a notepad, which it has a camcorder with headphones to record test video and audio, and that's your iPhone. You got a compass on there to check for sunrise, sunset. You got a weather app so you can check and see what the weather's going to be like, things like that, and you got maps on there as well. So next topic is lighting, and lighting is really important. This is one of Rain Chavez's picture here, and light is what makes the camera capture an image. So it is extremely important in filmmaking. And it doesn't matter what you're using, or it doesn't matter what medium you're using, light's going to form the basis for what you're seeing on that screen. And so don't think of lighting as something extra, but it's a part of your video. And these are, like, we have professional light kit there, but even reflectors like the guy on the right there, I got that at Home Depot. It was cheap, just a board that reflects light. And I'll show you a picture of a really good demonstration right here of lighting. If you look at the picture on the left, the two students in the car, the top picture is without the reflector, and the bottom picture is with a little bit more light. And you can tell that it makes a huge difference in how the picture looks. And on the right-hand side, those were the students that were standing outside the car, just with those reflectors, bouncing the sunlight off the reflectors into the car. And these were all shot with an iPhone as well. And it just gets great picture. It just gives you a great picture quality when you're able to do that. In filmmaking, we have what's called three-point lighting. It's also used in television and shows like that. And that is wherever you have your camera, like you got the guy right here. You got your camera right here, so on the left and right of you, behind you, you want to have a key light and a fill light. And then right behind the person, you want to have a backlight. And as you can tell, that's the backlight right there. The key light's coming from this side of his face. And then the fill light's coming from this side of his face. Actually, it's the reverse. The key light's coming from this side, and the backlight's coming this way. And I'll show you an example of that. So the key light's coming from one angle, and it creates a shadow on the right side of his, or on the left side of his face. And then over here, the fill light's coming from his left, and it's creating a shadow on the right side. And this is just the backlight by itself. And this right here, what the backlight does, it gives it that three-dimensional look. So it's good to do your three-point lighting if at all possible if you have a light kit. Now we have a Home Depot light kit as well, and that's something I just went to Home Depot and just purchased some real inexpensive lights, and sometimes we use those just for simple shoots. So our next topic is audio. And good quality audio is extremely important. To me, it's 60% of your video is your audio. If you don't have good audio, a lot of people are going to not want to watch your video. So you want to make sure your audio is really good. You can actually have bad video, but if your audio quality is good, they will listen to and watch your video. Make sure if you're recording, however you're recording clean sound, whether using the microphone on your camera or whether you have a mic that you can use, you want to be as close to the subject as you can, especially when you're interviewing. You don't want to do a long shot if the camera's going to be far away. What I do with the iPhone is actually create like a little cup where the microphone is, so that the sound bounces off my hand into the microphone, and that helps me a lot with the iPhone. You also want to set your audio recording levels at a proper level because you want to try to avoid the distortion or any kind of feedback. Most camcorders will allow you to do that. You definitely want to have a pair of headphones on so you can check to see how that audio is performing. And And you want to listen closely because you want to make sure you're not picking up any unwanted sounds or buzzes or air conditioner noises, things that you normally wouldn't like really pay attention to because you're just tuning them out. But you really want to listen closely so you get good, clean audio. And so the next phase is production. You've done all your pre-production work, and now you're ready to jump into production so you can start setting up, striking sets, things that you got to do to get ready. And this is the part where you shoot plenty of video or photographs so you can have the necessary video to put together your digital story. So, and this is the part where you definitely want to use your storyboard. So it's a great guide for you. And sometimes too you may have to go out and collect various media, so it's not all about shooting videos. Sometimes you may have to go and maybe look for an old VCR tape or find the DVD or maybe find some old pictures that you need to scan, things like that. And all that's done during the video production process. It's also a good time to record any narrations. Even though you might not be using the video part, it's good to get the narrations done so that you have those ready. Once you get into the editing phase, you can always extract the audio from the video clip. And then once you get done with production, you go into post-production. And in the post-production phase, this is the third and final part. This is where you upload all your video. It's important to organize all your video footage too. It's one thing I really preach to my students. I know a lot of us probably have huge amounts of media. It's probably quite unorganized. I know I do. I have to every summer kind of look at my computer and figure out what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to throw away. But it's important to organize it. Also, think of your video footage as puzzle pieces when you're putting them together, because even though you have a storyboard and you had a plan about how you were going to put them together, you can also change them around. It's also great sometimes to start telling the story from the very end to the beginning, or there's different ways to tell your story. After you have your rough cut of your video, then you want to begin editing your audio as well and fixing up your audio. So first you want to do your video edits and then fix up your audio. Then you'll want to create a sound design for your digital story. And this is where you can incorporate all kinds of cool, make it a great auditory experience for your audience. And we'll get a little more into that in just a few minutes. And then after you have that, you should have a kind of a rough cut. You want to have somebody or have a group of people look at your video, get some feedback, make sure the story's getting across. Then you'll want to revise your video with the feedback's been given. And of course, once you have it, then you want to get it out for the world to see. And so the editor, so it's one of the more creative aspects of filmmaking. And thinking like a video editor is really important when you're creating a storyboard. So there are techniques to editing, and if I had more time, I would do some, and I'm sure we'll probably come back and do some extra editing, probably put a focus in on editing, because I know I saw a comment on there about editing being one of somebody's weak point. So maybe we need to come back, but it's really important to think like a video editor, and you got to think about your pace, how quickly you make the cuts, how long they are, how you put them together. Action sequences usually have a type of beat. I know that when we did a video editing sequence that we analyzed for Star Wars, there was like this 3 quick cuts and then a long, and then a long kind of video there, and it kind of had a rhythm to it. Sometimes it's good to edit to music. But you build scenes in certain orders. You want to do all your video clips, your pictures, your narration, voiceovers. Then you can start adding your titles and transitions. Then you can add video effects. Then you want to add an opening title and maybe some closing credits. Then you go back and look at everything and then add any additional voiceovers or any sound effects. And then the last thing you do is put your music in there. All right, and there's plenty of software and mobile apps for video editing. In fact, this is the iMovie one. There's Final Cut Pro 10 or X now, and it is really easy to use. If you know how to use iMovie, you can probably adapt to this one really easily. It's not that hard. Most professional filmmakers are really angry about that because I don't know, I think it should be easy. I don't think it should be difficult, and this really makes it easy. This is called Avid here, and they actually made an app for $4.99. Me personally, I think it beats the iMovie app in the iPad because it gives you more tracks so you can edit on as far as audio, and that's a great thing because in iMovie you can only add one audio track. And then this one here is Sony Vegas for those of you that are using PC. Dana Glover from our Cinema Decans project here, that's what he uses to do his editing on. And so another important aspect is the sound designer. And you can add background music, just like in the theme for the good, bad, the ugly. It can give you, can really invoke a emotion in a person. Also, you can use it to foreshadow like they do in Jaws. And it's also like a musical theme can be associated with an individual character, much like the sound you hear for Darth Vader when he's around. And GarageBand is a great software application to use in order to create your sound design for your digital story, and it's available on both of course, the Mac, and it's available on the iPad and on the iPhone as well. Next thing is motion graphics, and this is where kids really love doing stuff. And as you can tell, I did a little motion graphic here with my intro there. But it can really enhance the look of your video when you add motion graphics to your video, and there's so many apps out there that do that. However, keep in mind you're telling a story. Students tend to overlook this, and they start trying to make it look so cool. And it does look cool, but then they're not telling their story. And most of them will provide you for options for creating motion graphics. A lot of apps out there will. There's a lot of different combinations you can use as well. I like using Keynote. You can even probably use PowerPoint. But I like Keynote because it allows you to export it as a QuickTime movie. And so you can actually tell a whole digital story with a Keynote. You don't even have to have iMovie or anything like that. And then, just like I said, keep in mind that you're telling a story. So no matter how cool, this is actually a graphic from a student of mine. He made this using I believe he used Motion, which is in Final Cut Pro 6 and 7. And then the last thing is just distributing your digital story through social media. You got to share. Just about every app has a share feature on it now, and iMovie has a share capability as well to YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, and it's just great that we have that kind of capability now. And to me, it's really important to teach students how to utilize these social media to create and nurture their brand. And when I talk about brand, it means like who they are. Like whatever they post on Facebook, that's what people are going to think of them. So, or whatever they post on Twitter. And so I tell them they're creating brands as they do this. So students, like here's the student of mine, he has this online digital portfolio, and he's added a lot of great videos. He's got photos. He's even got a blog on there. This is through the MediaExperiments.com website. And so he's creating his own brand, and he'll be able to go out and get a job and have something to show. And if you're not familiar with them, there's TeacherTube, there's SchoolTube, where you can post stuff up. And you can even have your students or you even create websites and share your digital stories like Postress or Tumblr or WordPress. Postress is really easy to use. That's the site. That's what we're using for our Cinema Decans project. Our website is cinemadecansproject.org, and we use that to share our digital story about our project. So what's your story, and how are you going to publish it? And at this point, if there's any questions, just post them on the chat there. And once again, I'm Humberto, and I've been here with Rain Chavez, and it's been a pleasure giving this webinar. And this is our contact information. If you'd like to contact us, and we're going to turn it back over to Diane and Vanessa. And thanks again, Diane and Vanessa.
Thank you guys. You guys
so
are
very
great.
much.